So you've been told to pour your money into a 401k or an IRA to secure your retirement, right? But if you're in your 50s or 60s, that advice might be failing you. By the way, I'm Kwak, a certified financial education instructor. I may not be in my 50s or 60s, but I've spent nearly a decade coaching individuals and families just like you. Hard-working Americans in their 50s and 60s who feel like they're falling behind on their retirement goals, and I've seen the devastation up close. Today, we're talking about late start investing or catching up on your retirement investing if you're in your 50s or 60s. And why does this ultimately matter? Well, you don't have decades, and therefore, you need a plan that works now. So that said, let's figure this out together, like we're just sitting down for a chat. Now, let's set the stage for a moment. You're in your 50s or 60s, you've worked incredibly hard all your life, but now you're looking at your retirement savings and it's just not enough. I've had so many clients come to me with this exact problem. One of them, let's just call her Deb, who's in her 60s, sat down with me last year, and you know what she said? She said, Sam, I'm a few years from retirement, and I have almost nothing saved. And that fear hits really hard. She also said, I have multiple mortgages, and I feel like my finances are happening to me as opposed to the opposite. And so she too realized that she doesn't have 30 years to let compounding interest work, and she's running out of time. I mean, if you start investing in your 20s, a $10,000 investment at 7% return could grow to $76,000 by the time you're in 60s. But starting at 50, well, that same $10,000 could only grow to $20,000 in 10 years. The gap is huge. Therefore, the 401k and IRA plans that everyone talk about, they rely on time in the market. You don't have that. Even if the IRS code allows you to contribute more, it's nowhere near enough. So what is the next step? So let's zoom out for a sec. Traditional advice says invest in a 401k or an IRA, put your money in a mutual fund or ETF. Let it grow. Sounds pretty good, right? But the problem is that it may not be built for you, especially in your given time situation. Those plans typically work best when you have decades of compounding interest and time to wait. And you don't. And I've seen this over and over with my clients. If you are in your 60s right now and you invest $20,000 in an ETF with a 7% return, you might have $28,000 in 5 years. That's not anywhere near enough to retire on. Plus, on the other hand, the market can be a roller coaster. A bad year like 2022, when the S&P 500 dropped 18%, can wipe out your gains. And you can't afford that risk, and you need a faster way. So here's where I come in with a little bit of different perspective. You don't have more time to be in the market. What you do need, however, is leverage. And the leverage comes from two currencies that could accelerate your investment growth. One is knowledge, and two is relationships. And let me explain. Instead of dumping your money continuously into a 401k or an IRA, we have to think value creation. And here's an incredibly easy example to explain this. How is it that a medical doctor, let's say, is paid more than someone who's not a doctor? Well, obviously, the doctor had specialized training and education over the years. So the doctor is leveraging their knowledge in value creation. Like so, a specialized knowledge in a certain investment vehicle could give you better financial returns at a shorter amount of time frame. And in my opinion, one of the most reliable and perhaps a predictable investment asset is real estate. More specifically though, I'm talking about buying cash flowing rental properties, but not the usual way that you might be thinking about. There are strategies like owner financing or raising capital that could serve as a leverage. Let me break this down. Real estate, unlike many of the traditional forms of investment, is a value-added investment. You're not just hoping the market goes up, you're creating income through the cash flow. So here's how it works. You will need to leverage your knowledge like understanding your local market and negotiating deals. You tap into relationships, maybe a friend who wants to invest with you or a seller open to owner financing. Owner financing simply means that the seller acts as the bank. You pay them directly and often with a low down payment. I've actually seen clients buy properties with as little as 5% down, and in some cases, no money down. And yes, rare, but it's possible. On the other hand, raising capital means partnering with others. You bring the deal, they bring the money, and together, you buy the cash flowing rental properties and split the profits. And by leveraging these types of strategies, you could build a portfolio of 40, 50, or even 100 rental units. And it's these kinds of portfolio that could generate $10,000 a month or more to supply you with everyday income you need. Now, I'm not saying that it's easy. but it's possible. And it's one way where you can accelerate your investment growth without the decades of compounding interest time. Let me actually tell you a quick story to make this even more real. Last year, I worked with a client, and his name is Kevin, who's in his 60s. He came to my brother Daniel and I feeling stuck. He said, "Sam, I'm too late to start. I don't know where to begin." And Kevin didn't have much of a background in investment, let alone real estate. So we handed Kevin concepts like owner financing and raising capital, really helping him implement these strategies as leverage. That way, he didn't need to have a big down payment and he didn't need to take on more bank financing and debt. And so within just a few months, he had 2 rental properties generating monthly income and equity appreciation over time. Therefore, Kevin and his 2 rental properties outperformed his 401k growth. The best part, you didn't have to wait 5, 10, or even 20 years. He did it in months. Now, by no means I'm saying that this is going to work for everyone. It does take an investment of time and knowledge. However, those little bit of time investments allowed Kevin to quote unquote sharpen the knife, so to speak, so that he can cut through his investment goals a lot faster. A different way to look at this is that Kevin got a quote unquote engine upgrade that allowed him to go faster. So if you are in your 50s or 60s, time isn't on your side. I get it. But when we can't create time, we can create leverage, meaning we make our single unit of time more valuable in terms of financial output through specialized knowledge. And I'm not saying that all 401ks or IRAs are bad, but if you want to see faster progression, a lot of opportunities can be found outside of the traditional way. So if you enjoyed this video or had an aha moment, the only way we grow is if you share this video with a friend or a colleague. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and like this video and check out this video right here if you want to further your learning on how to grow your finances. We'll see you in that video.